Wes, I got to tell you, man, that these shows are supposed to be what I always call disposable media, right? It's stuff that people watch when it's live, a few hours after it's live, maybe the day after it goes live. We get about 5,000 views and nobody ever watches it again. So that's what I call disposable media. So I really try not to spend too much time prepping for it or making it a big deal or making it a big part of my life, or especially with the thumbnails or the headlines.
Yeah.
I think we could have a 90-minute documentary following every detail that was taken in the name of today's episode, in the thumbnail of today's episode. There was a lot of work. I was actually streaming it live in voice chat, so people could watch and see how broken I am mentally. When this is how Jamie puts out videos every single day, and I struggle to get anything done ever.
Well, if people aren't already aware of your brokenness, they're about to learn, because I know that we have a nice, nuanced topic to talk about today. But if things go as they usually do, we will talk about everything else other than the topic, and then we'll just try to jam the topic in really quickly at the end and go home.
That would be perfect. That would be perfect. Also, I just came back to OBS to see to make sure that we could start the show properly, and there's nothing here. There's nothing here. Oh, I'm not even seeing the thumbnail. So I'm just gonna we're just gonna cross our fingers and hope everything works today.
Yeah, it'll work out.
Yeah, and even if it doesn't, it'll be fine. All right, let's do this. You ready?
Yes, sir.
Let's go. This is PSVR GamesCast Live. We film live every single Monday, Wednesday, and 2 West Friday right here on YouTube. We do it live 6 p.m. Eastern for your viewing pleasure, but we also care oh so very much about your oral pleasure. That's why we put this thing up on podcast services of your choice. Do I tickle your ears? Do you feel that rubbing against your eardrum? That's me, baby. That's me. My name is Brian Pop from this channel right here without Parole. Oh, for all the audio listeners, Wes's noise canceling is just too strong, and so he said something, but you couldn't hear it. And over here, to my left, your right, is Wes Dillon from Virtual Strangers. What's going on, Wes?
What's up, Brian? Typical West Day, doing West Day things, which mainly consists of me sitting in this chair, staring at this screen and clicking this little clicky thing.
Wait. Oh, I do have a clicky thing. I was just about to get jealous. I was like, why don't I have a clicky thing? I've got a clicky thing. Everything is fine. Everything is okay in the world. Also, shout out to everybody who was so helpful in a roundabout way. Because on Monday's show, I said time bonus, and I was like, I don't even know what game that's from. I think it's Virtua Racer. Yo, it sounds like that exact same clip is from like every game ever made, right? People are showing me clips from Daytona, from Destruction Derby. Every game has an announcer in that era going time bonus. So I did look it up. It seems like it was Virtua Racing for me, but man, there's a lot of time bonuses out there. There's a lot of them. Oh yeah.
So what was the thing in the there was something in Dirt Rally too. I don't remember what the guy always said, but he repeated something like constantly, and it made me want to blow my brains out and never play the game again. One of which I did.
The co-driver, the amount of listen. There's a Mitch Hedberg joke, if anybody remembers it. He goes, I don't want to be a race car driver. I want to be a race car passenger. I just want to,
right.
I just want to sit there and bug the dude, right? And that's, and it takes a little while to get used to your co-driver sitting there the whole time and just like reading instructions to you, basically telling you of all the turns that are coming through. And I was like, this dude is a race car passenger for sure.
Yeah, hysterical, and annoying.
Right. Oh man, we got some more housekeeping to do. Also, yeah, I guess this is a little bit more personal. Dude, shit has been crazy. I can't keep up with anything as usual, and so I spent a majority of yesterday responding to emails, responding to DMs, and I'm still not caught up. And I know that there have been people who are like waiting for a response. If that's you, I apologize. It's not personal. I actually thought that I got cut up. Cut up? Somebody said cut in the chat, and it immediately broke my brain. Caught up. Yeah, Stingray. Caught up. Yeah, and so that's just letting you guys know. I don't think anybody would take it personally if it took me a week to respond, but that's kind of where we're at right now. Also, some housekeeping. I think this is great. I think this is real great. We've got on Monday's show, we started talking about the PlayStation blog post about Resident Evil 9, and we were saying, I think when we started the episode, there was like 18 comments or something, which even that is pretty substantial for a PlayStation blog post. If you guys look through the PlayStation blog and you look through all the articles, they get a few hearts. They get maybe like no comments, upwards of 8 to 10 comments. We have 640 comments on this Resident Evil Requiem post. Dude, this is unprecedented. I don't think you can scroll back far enough on the PlayStation blog to see that many comments or that much love on any article they've ever published, ever. Maybe the one that you wrote, Wes. Maybe that one.
No, definitely not the one the one that I wrote. But if anything is comparable, it would have been the Astrobot post. Because I remember people were up in arms, and rightfully so, about the lack of VR support when that game launched, and the subsequent comments by the lead developer. But yeah, I think you're right. I don't think it was to this extent, which I absolutely love. And I was saying this before. We should never ever let this die. We should continue to do this until the end of time, or until they give us what we want. Yeah. So yeah, please, cats, well done. I wasn't super aware. I caught some of Monday's show, but I didn't watch the whole thing. But I've seen it. I've seen this all over social media the last couple of days, on Twitter, people talking about this blog post and what we're doing with it. So yeah, keep it up. Keep sharing. Keep leaving comments. Keep applying pressure, and hopefully it'll be enough, at least to fool these guys into thinking that they're going to make a ton of money if they support VR.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Listen, Capcom can lose, a few $100,000, right? And no one's gonna feel bad about that, right? We don't want indie studios losing money. The indie studios we want to focus on, who can bring games to PSVR2, are ones that will not require too much work, or the ones that we actually think could make a profit off of it. They're going to take a loss. They're going to take a loss, and I don't care. Right? This is all about making sure that we get the game that we want, and whether it's Sony that has to step in to do it, or Capcom. Listen, I think we made as much noise as we could for Capcom. Right? Posting on every single social, every single post. Man, if they didn't hear us, then they just weren't listening, right? Because we made noise. So this was I think a valiant effort from us to really make sure that Sony hears us, because Sony stepping in and handing $10 million over to Capcom is nothing. That's such a small amount of money for $1 billion corporation like them. Hey, is this going to keep the PSVR2 population happy? Is this what will keep them happy? We'll give them this year, and we'll give them Microsoft Flight Sim this year, and then will that keep them happy? And then we'll give them something else next year just to shut them up, right? If that's how they treat us, I am fine with that, right? Like, we will take games here and there to be shut up. Is shut up the past tense of shut up? I don't know, but I'll take it. This totally works for me. Guys, so I did post about this on the channel. There was a community post that I put up. I've been going hard on this on Discord. I think some people didn't get the message properly over on the YouTube post. I think some people responded there instead of actually going over to Capcom and doing it there. So here, I posted it already in the chat. Here it is again. Go over there. This is, dude, you know what? This is powerful, I think, because somebody put out a petition and said to help get Resident Evil 9 to PSVR2, and I was like, that's great, right? And making our voice heard in any way possible, being on socials, that's all great. But this is different, man. This is an official PlayStation blog where to leave a comment, you need to have a PlayStation account, right? This validifies each and every person that is leaving a comment here, right? This makes sure, hey, they're not bots, right? There's not a lot of multiple comments here. I mean, who the hell is going to create multiple PlayStation accounts and sign up for Plus? Like, most of these people have a plus mark next to their name. These are Plus users, right? This is very fucking valid. So I think this is, I think this might have been the best way to get our message across.
Even if it doesn't achieve our ultimate goal of getting VR support in this game, I think we can rest assured that at the very least, someone will take notice of this, and someone behind the scenes will be talking about PSVR2 support, and that alone is worth the effort. We should make these people have to think about VR whether they want to or not, and that's what we're doing. We're force feeding VR to Sony execs, or at least people behind the scenes that pay attention to blog posts.
Yep. So let's not take our foot off the gas. Let's keep this up. Honestly, this is happening way faster than I thought it was. I was hoping by the end of the show on Monday we could get to 100, and we actually got closer to 200 by the end of the show, and then here we are less than 48 hours later, and man, we are I think if we really try, we can close in on 1,000 by the end of the week. So
I believe we can.
Nice.
Keep it up, cats.
That's a number I think that they'll listen to. So good job, everybody. I just wanted to start off the show by patting everyone on the back. Good job. Haha. Yeah. We got gaming, entertainment, television with the level 2 membership. Oops. How come I can't scroll up that high? I'll never understand how this works. Sorry, I got to cover Wes up a little bit. There he is. This is a question for perfect. Can you just stay like that for the rest of the show? He said, ask Wes, can him and Flat to VR get with Sony and send SOCOM 2 to VR? Also, Brian, we need to rally the troops for Iron Man in Skyrim. Thanks, guys. Okay, before you even answer the question about SOCOM, which is a name I haven't heard in quite a while, was there even a PS3 iteration of SOCOM? I know there's big on PS2.
I think so. And the reason why I think so is, unless I'm mistaken, there was some speculation a few years ago that this is something that was actually being worked on. It turned out to be completely unfounded, of course. But there was some talk about SOCOM, as I recall. So I do believe that there was a PS3 generation iteration of this game.
I'm not trying to be negative about this. This it's gonna sound a little bit negative, but when there's a studio like Flat to VR, people who are willing to take on the mission, as it's understood, to bring Flat games into VR, I can only imagine that there's a barrage of people in requests. And I mean, do you guys just have a database of like 1,000 or maybe more than that games that people have requested so far?
I know there are lists, multiple. I'm not exactly privy to how many games are on it, or who maintains it. We have a department called business development, and this is their deal. They're the ones. It's headed up by Eric. They're the ones who decide which IPs and titles we're going to go for, and which ones we aren't. And we love it. You're right. It is an everyday thing that someone either on social media or on YouTube or somewhere, even in email sometimes, people are suggesting titles for us to pursue. And we love it. We want to know what the community wants. We're here largely to serve that community of hardcore gamers that want something more to play on their headsets. So we love any feedback, and especially this sort of feedback. We find it very helpful. So yes, there are lists. I do not know how many titles are on them exactly, but there are, dozens and dozens and dozens, of course.
I've talked to Ryan Payton over there at Camouflage post layoffs, and man, I got to say, we clearly didn't talk about Iron Man. We had other things on our minds, including the studio and his future and their future and what was happening next. He also, just FYI, he seemed very positive about the future. He said great things about Meta, and said basically that it doesn't look at it as an ending, more like a new beginning. And I think Camouflage has gone. It's been rocky since day one, right? Kind of been bouncing around here, trying to figure out how to release Republic episodically, right? And then kind of like not having the money to do so and finding ways to do so. And then, suddenly they're thrust into the world of VR and making Iron Man, right? I mean, that's a massive task. And so it seems like, and then of course that game came out, and as fun as it was, like there were issues, right? Complaints, like the loading screens that were like upwards of a minute long. And it's like, so it just seems like they've always been bouncing around. And then with Batman, they hit gold, right? It was I think it was the right license for the right team at the right time on probably the right platform, right? And so, are you jumping? Can I not pet you? If she's gonna jump, I don't want to pet her. If she jumps, she has nowhere to land. And so I just feel like this is almost, I hate to say this because it sounds like, well, should have expected it. That's not how I mean it. It's sort of just par for the course with them, right? I feel like they're constantly hitting walls, despite having such enormous success here and there. And so I don't know. I just absolutely love Camouflage. I love Ryan. I love everybody over there. I think they're extremely talented. Hope they land on their feet. And I think between the purchase of Camouflage by Meta and the fact that Iron Man is a Sony owned IP, I just think everything is so messy that like there's a million games I would love to petition for to try to get over to PSVR2, and I just think that one might be one of the messiest ones we could probably fight for, right? I think everybody's golf would be easier. Astrobot would be easier. Rush of Blood would be easier somehow, right? But Iron Man feels like it's just so daunting that I'm like, maybe once the GameCat Ops thing is like, next level and we have like, thousands of people out there daily, maybe we could make a change there. I'm just nervous about games like that, like wasting our time on that might not yield any results.
But to be honest, I don't think that it's that much of an outlier. I think it's just as likely to be brought into PSVR2 generation as any other title, because typically what a Sony would do in this situation is just get a different studio to port it, right? The game's done. They don't need Camouflage to bring it along. They can always hire someone. I always forget what the name of that studio, White
Moon Dreams.
Yeah, something like that. Get a studio like that to work on it quietly in the background. And to be honest, if that were to happen, they would probably be working on more than one title. But there are plenty of capable developers out there, probably more so today than ever before. So yeah, if Sony wanted to invest in the work, it wouldn't be particularly difficult to do, I would think.
Cool. We got Nihilist Ryan the Game Feline with the $5. Says, as far as R&D goes, Meta's great. Oh, this is. I'm so glad that you already posted this, because I did want to make sure that like this topic of conversation, like I think I'm certainly not going into the headline here later on with any kind of expectations to come up with an answer, right? I think there are positives and negatives whenever we talk about this stuff. It's a very nuanced conversation, and as as long as Wes and I have been doing this, I'm sure there are elements that we wouldn't even think of. So I'm glad that you guys are all here, and especially when the time comes, make sure you voice your opinion in the chat, and I'm gonna be keeping an eye on it, because I think you guys are gonna bring up a lot of topics that we probably wouldn't have even thought of. So thanks for being here, guys. But getting back to Nihilist Ryan's tip, he says, Meta's great, but as a business model, They are the worst thing that happened to VR. Okay. I actually didn't see it going in that direction. From buying up studios to pushing Horizon. Yeah. Thank you very much for that. Oh, Jesus. Sorry. I didn't realize there were so many more. Also, don't ever hesitate to let me know that I didn't read your tip. If somehow it got past me, I think it was Waleed on Monday. Even though I scroll through and try to keep organized, somehow I missed something that Waleed had said. So I'll double check on that while we're doing this to make sure we don't skip anybody. Comic book guy with the £5 says, first, sorry I missed the last 2 Gamescasts. Well, this is your penance. But it's £5 an episode, FYI, in case you didn't know. Also, I have seen Avatar Fire and Ash 3 times now. 2 in normal 3D and 1 in 4DX 3D. Bro. 3 times?
4DX. What is 4DX 3D?
I mean, I could Google it, but my guess is that is that not the one that like sprays water in your face and rumbles the chair?
Yeah, that could be it. I guess I saw something at the zoo once. I think it was Dora the Explorer or something, and
love it.
Yeah, they spray perfume at you and turn fans on and off.
You know, back in my drinking days, I don't know what it was. I don't know what schedule I was on, but I would get insanely drunk every night, like blackout drunk every night. And somehow for months, I would pass out with the TV on, and I would wake up, and like before I could even open my eyes, all I could hear was backpack, say backpack, right? Swipe or no swiping, swipe or no. I've never seen an episode of Dora in my life, but dozens of times I have heard it, and I just got, this must be hell. This can't be real. Yeah.
I was raising children during that generation. So, those phrases are burned within my scarred soul. I certainly understand. But for those of you who can identify those of our generation, there's a hilarious spoof on YouTube, and I don't remember if it was Saturday Night Live or where it came from. There's an animated thing that's like 2 or 3 minutes long that completely distorts and perverts that cartoon in the most hilarious way. So be sure to check it out for a good laugh.
I've seen that. It's pretty good. Well, hey, listen, comic book, I'm really glad that you're liking Fire and Ash. Although that better not be the reason you've been skipping Gamescasts. Unacceptable. I hope that's not a causation here. We discovered that. I don't think I'm going to watch it. I just don't think I'm going to. I really hated the second one, Way of Water or whatever it was called. I was like, I want to get out of the theater so badly. And I was there with like 9 family members. And I was like, this is horrible. I don't know. This is why I shouldn't review movies. Probably shouldn't be reviewing video games, to be fair. But moving on, the Amiga Guru, the 10 Nokia cell phones. Thank you so much for your contribution. We appreciate everybody keeping this channel alive. And he follows it up with 50 Nokia cell phones, which are probably worth about whatever, however much this tip actually is. I don't even know. He goes, SOCOM Confrontation and SOCOM Special Ops were on PS3. There were 2 of them?
Never.
Crazy. Wes, should we get let's get into this conversation, because I feel like people are like chomping or maybe even champing at the bit to get their thoughts out about this. And so, you know, I wasn't just sitting around being like, how can I shit on Meta today? That's generally not what I do. It happens when I run out of things to do, but that's not what I was doing today. What happened was El Guapo Game Cato with the hashtag viewer takeover in the viewer takeover channel. He left this on our Discord, which you can do as well. Click the link in the description below. Come join our Discord. That's where the GameCat Ops stuff happens. That's where the multiplayer stuff happens. It is the best community of all time. And you can leave your questions, and maybe they'll become a topic of the show, just like El Guapo Game Cato's question did. He says, what if Meta never entered the VR race? I recently finished catching up on the last couple of GameCat I can't talk today. I'm sorry, Wes. GamesCast episodes. Hearing Wes talk about some of the negative impacts the MetaQuest had on the VR gaming market got me thinking. We know what the world with MetaQuest looks like, but what if the Quest never existed? Where would VR be today? For instance, how would Sony have handled VR if they weren't constantly being compared to a $300 standalone headset? Would naysayers have accepted the cable as a necessary trade-off for power? Would the quality of VR games be higher without the mobile chipset limitations? Finally, is Quest a, quote, rising tide that lifts all boats, or did it just steer the ship into shallower waters? Wes, what are your initial thoughts on this? We can dive deeper as different conversations come up, but what are your initial thoughts on this?
Well, it's a great question. One that I have been contemplating myself, actually, off and on over the course of the last week or two. And it's a good question because, as is the case with most things in life, there is no black or white, clean cut answer here. There are positive impacts and negative impacts that they've had. And for what it's worth, just in case anyone's wondering, since we last spoke about this, I've become increasingly optimistic about the recent state of affairs. As ugly as all this business has been for the studios and developers out there, I'm now of the opinion that I think that this was the right move on the part of Meta, and I don't think that it signals them getting out of VR at all. I just they've been telling us, behind the scenes, and when I say us, I mean the studios, the developers out there. They've been promising us that they're going to recalibrate, that they're going to correct some of the errors in the ecosystem that have been introduced over the last couple of years, and no one really knew what their approach was going to be. And I think you nailed it last time we talked about it. I think they are taking more of like a Sony-like approach going forward. And I think the intent here is to get out of our way, essentially. And I think that they're closing these studios so as not to compete with the developers that are continuing to stay alive and support VR. Again, as painful as it is, I think if they pull Horizon from the general store, which they're saying they're going to do, and they're not going to basically crush all the indie studios with their bigger budget first party stuff and let everyone else kind of have a chance in the holiday season going forward. I think these are all positive things. Where would we be without Meta had they not ever acquired Oculus? Is an interesting question. Would we be better off? I do think in some ways we would. I think one of the things he mentioned about the quality of games, I think that is one of the biggest no-brainers. I think the average VR game would be much better today had there never been any kind of Facebook involvement. But with that said, I think the fact remains that the long-term outlook for VR is excellent. And I think that largely is because of Meta and what they've done. I think the vision for the Meta Quest platform, I believe in that vision. I just think that they executed it way too early. Like, now would be the time to push and force standalone VR into the market. If you're going to do it at any time, now would be the time to do it. The technology's in a much better place today than it was 5 years ago or 6 or whatever it was. But I think long term, we're still better off with Meta having done that, because, as much as we want to, shit on all of the squeakers and Gorilla Tag players out there, um, all the young people that are still playing on Quest 2. I do think that those players represent a strong foundation for maybe not the next gen of VR gaming, but the gen following that. When these players all get old, and we have tens of millions of people in the market that have been playing VR their entire life, or half of their life, um, I think that's a good thing. I think it's invaluable, honestly. And so, yeah, I think that we would be much worse off from a long-term perspective had Facebook never gotten involved. They're not only have they kind of moved the line with regard to gaming, but they've forced the line in every aspect of the industry, whether you're talking about hardware, software, entertainment, immersive entertainment. Meta has set the standard for so many of these things, and pushed the smaller startups and any type of potential competitor to up their game as well. So I'll stop kind of ranting about this and blabbering on about it right now. But I think in general, I think that we are better off, or we will be better off with Meta having acquired Oculus when they did. That's just my opinion, and it's certainly very debatable.
Yeah, I mean, you touched on a lot of topics there, and I think the biggest one was that prior to the acquisition, it wasn't like Oculus had an infinite amount of money, right? But where Meta basically does, right? You can just keep throwing, millions and millions and millions, and at this point, billions of dollars, and just hoping that it'll work. And Sony doesn't have that kind of money. Oculus didn't have that kind of money, right? And so, sorry, sirens on my end as always. There's, it was kind of for them an experiment. It's like let's see if we can push this thing. Let's see if we can make it work simply by throwing money at it, keeping the headset prices low, keep bringing new games to the platform, and not really having to worry about the consequences. Whereas if Sony had done the same thing, we wouldn't have PlayStation anymore, right? It would have been a bet that they would have lost and gone under because of. There are so many studios that could not do what Meta did. And so that's kind of great to have somebody who believed in VR enough to do that, right? Like, we're just going to throw infinite amounts of money at the problem, and with any luck, fingers crossed, it'll work. And that money also went to Vertigo games and Skydance games and an infinite number of third-party smaller studios, right? Because I don't think enough people understand. We pat Sony on the back occasionally by being like, oh, well, Resident Evil wouldn't exist on PSVR1 or PSVR2 if it wasn't for Sony throwing money at them. But like, those are the easy ones to point at. There are so many harder ones to point at, right? Like Song in the Smoke, like in games that like aren't even exclusives. Right? When you look at things like Arizona Sunshine Remake, Arizona Sunshine 2, I guarantee you, I say guarantee, I don't actually know this, but this is kind of part of the business model, was that they were getting money from PlayStation and they were getting money from Meta, right? In order to subsidize those games, in order to keep the money flowing, because because the VR platform isn't big enough to say, oh, we're going to spend 2 years making these games, and with any luck, they'll sell enough and we'll make our money back. That's usually not how it's working. They're just, especially for the longest time, there wasn't enough gamers to make that a reality. So it was Sony and Meta throwing money at them, saying, "Hey, yeah, keep making these games for us," right? And now things have changed. Now things have changed on both sides, right? We're hearing that Sony isn't doing that for indies like they used to, right? They're only doing it for much bigger third-party studios, and Meta clearly pulling way back. Isn't going to be doing this for a lot of studios either. We heard about the canceled Harry Potter game. We heard about a lot of things. And so I feel like to kind of piggyback off everything you were saying, Sony and Meta combined really helped to kind of push VR during a time where VR wasn't really feasible. And I still think we're in that time. I think VR is still not all that feasible, right? And so I am a little bit nervous of what's going to happen over the next couple years, right? Because we do need more people to get into VR. We do need to get a lot more gamers caring about VR and buying VR games. And especially without that extra income coming from Sony and Meta, right? So I think, yes, I think you looking like into the future, it's like, man, this actually was really good for VR. And it was, I think in the future, we're going to say this was, but in the meantime, we have studios that just aren't going to make it. We have plenty of studios that aren't making it, and we've already seen games, studios like Costello, who made Lies and Rain, one of my favorite games of the last year. Their next game is flat screen. I saw it listed over on Steam. It looks cute, but it's flat. So
yeah, same thing from Legendary Tales developer. They're looking at making their next title flat, and there are a number of other studios. So yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying here. It makes sense when you're launching a new technology and you're launching a new platform that the platform holders must invest in software, right? That they have to put out their own software. They have to support the other developers in order to establish, again, something that's very new and radically different than anything that's come before. But they can't do that forever. It's been a decade now. It's been a decade now that the platform holders have been investing, trying to kind of bootstrap this thing and get it going. So now we've come to the point where they can't continue throwing money into a bottomless pit. And they're basically taking a step back and saying, all right, everyone says that this is, an undeniable technology. It's time for it to sink or swim, right? Like we can't prop it up. It's unhealthy for the, for them to continually hold it up. And this is just another kind of aspect of what we talked about with Meta kind of forcing things to happen too quickly, right? Now all of the initial investment is running out, and it feels like we still need another 5 years of investment. So I think the next few years, as everything kind of resets, could be a very painful time, and it already is, a very painful time for a lot of studios out there. I do believe that we're going to weather it and be better off for it in the long run. But yeah, again, this is just one more way that forced to action, so to speak, in 2018 or whenever it occurred. It was just way too early, and yeah, again, this is just another way that's manifesting.
Yeah. Man, there's just so many directions we can go with this, and I think we've said a lot of positive stuff about Meta and a lot of stuff about the Quest, and about all the new gamers it's brought in, and about how some games probably wouldn't have existed because of them, and they supported studios that might not have still been around for years, and so. I got to bring something up, man. That I don't think you're going to hear anywhere else. And because it comes from a very unique viewpoint, and that's mine. Man, it was so interesting during the time when the Quest 1 launched. Right? It was from my perspective, when I was like, wow, I love PSVR, and it's so cool. Like we're in VR for the first time. We've dreamt about this since The Lawnmower Man, since Nick Arcade, since all of these things that we bring up constantly, right? Like this has been a dream come true for so many of us. And there was this mentality that this is cool. Like we're finally here. It was this, as far as the community was concerned, we were there were a lot of people who were like, oh, PSVR just doesn't seem like it's there yet and whatever. But then for all of us who had been waiting for it our whole lives, right, this is incredible. This is what we've been waiting for our whole lives. And it's so fucking cool that like I think this was like sort of the reason we had such an amazingly positive community to begin with, because we finally got something as gamers that we'd been promised since the late 80s. And it was affordable and it was good. And we were playing Resident Evil 7 in VR. We're getting games like Saints and Sinners. Everything was just so cool and so interesting. And like we wanted to play everything we get our hands on. It was just so positive. And then Quest came along. And it was, and don't get me wrong, by the way, the PC gamers always made fun of us. They were like, light tracking? Right? Like, so, but I think that bonded us together even closer. Because we were like, bro, have you tried it? Like, light tracking actually works surprisingly well. Like, it takes some time to set up and get your camera situated and make sure that your lighting is proper. But when it works great. And we were willing to deal with that kind of nonsense because it was the first foray into VR, right? PS4 clearly wasn't built with that in mind, right? I love seeing the early videos of like a Move controller like duct taped to some headset, right? I love that shit. And it really bonded us together. And then Quest came along and it was like, what happened? Right, people fractured. Right, people get mad at me for not covering Quest. I bought a Quest very, very early on. I was like early adopter, right? And I was like, this is cool. This is very cool. I bought a Quest 2 day one. I bought a Quest 3 month one, right? But people were mad at me for not covering Quest, and it kind of created this console war, where. And it was almost like content creator versus content creator, right? And that you can definitely go back and see where I bowed out of, hanging out with certain people and just being like, I don't want any part of this. I want to cover the thing that I love. And there were so many people that were massive parts of our community, people that like were there for every GAMESCAST, right? What if Comic Book Guy just stopped showing up to GAMESCAST, right? I'd feel that. Like you guys might not believe that. Right, because you're like, oh, Brian, you're 100 and however many thousand subscribers, whatever. No, but there's a core base of people who are fucking dedicated, right? Who are here all the time and really part of the community and love what we're doing here. And that number's not nearly as big as the subscriber count that you see on the channel. And some of those core people fucking took off. Part of other communities or whatever. And, and I see them online fighting about wires and cables and different kinds of lenses. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, it used to be just so fucking exciting that we got VR. And then we were given an option. And suddenly it wasn't good enough anymore that we were in VR. Is like, it had to be our headset that was the best. And I was like, oh God, I fucking hate this. This is what our community was so good at avoiding, right? This console wars. And then it just, so I do, if I ever have a negative feeling about Meta, it's not because they fucking steal your data and sell it for millions and billions of dollars they're an evil corporation. Fuck that. Most corporations are evil. Sony probably does some real evil shit that we don't know about, right? So I'm not sitting here defending anyone. But that's, if I have negative feelings about when Meta entered the race, it was because of that, right? So I wanted to like offer that personal perspective, being like, man, it's, and I don't care about losing subscribers. I care about losing friends, right? So many people really have become my close friends, and everything kind of changed then. It was sad. I wanted everyone to be positive and have the industry grow together, right? And no one had to take sides. But I do think part of it was that people saw me continuing to only cover PSVR as taking a side, which I've never done. So
it did.
Sorry, go ahead.
It certainly spurred on this kind of whole new generation of console wars, and it's interesting too because this iteration of console wars was profoundly different because it didn't just represent these, superficial things you're talking about, like wires and all of this, but Meta's approach and vision for the industry was so radically different than the other approach, which was much more organic and slow moving, letting the technology mature in a natural way before taking it to market. so the two sides were so diametrically opposed, and it didn't feel right. It still doesn't feel right, um, because it's too early to segment VR's base, right? We kind of all need to be in this together. We need to all be pushing together, and um, like we've talked about it a number of times. How, especially in those early days, um, we didn't really see competition, and I don't just mean between Sony and Meta, but like back then, content creators weren't really competitive with one another. It was kind of everyone working together to promote the thing that we all believe in and love, and to some extent that's still there, but you're right. Like now, it's much more clicky, right? There are groups that are constantly fighting one another, when fighting is really the last thing that we need to do. So I certainly, take your point here and agree with it. Like, it's kind of sad to see what has happened in our space. Um, in the wake of the Quest movement, so to speak.
And it's not everybody, obviously, right? Like, I mean, like I look at our Discord and I see people talking about Quest games that they're playing. I see people talking about modding over on Steam and playing, flat screen games in VR. I am seeing, on our Discord at least, people who aren't. There's no infighting, right? It's good. I'm really happy to see that. But yeah, I do live in a bubble though. I live in a very, very isolated bubble. Um, so Wes, on PSVR1, I'm only bringing this up, and it's kind of changing the topic a little bit. But I'm only bringing this up because I decided randomly just to play this Farpoint story trailer. Which if you go back and play Farpoint on a PS4 Pro right now, I think everybody would be like, this is like really, really good, right? Holds up, looks beautiful, it plays great with the aim controller, right? And it is like almost ahead of its time, possibly. And I just want to. I'm just curious. You touched on this a little bit. Do you think we'd just be seeing a whole lot more games like Farpoint, or building off of Farpoint and using that as the jumping off point and just growing and growing and growing throughout the years? Would be seeing more of that if people didn't have to kind of scale back their games for Quest all these years.
Yeah, I don't know how many far points we would have. That game is exceptional. Um, but it's exceptional for different reasons than you might think. I think its approach to storytelling is the strength of the game. I mean, the game itself is rather linear and kind of simple and arcadey, but the way they tell the story. I mean, how many VR games have you played that will give you an 8-minute cutscene and you're cool with that? Right? You're cool with it. You'll just sit there and watch it and love it.
A cutscene where you can't get up and walk around either, right? You can't.
Right.
Right. It's not London Heist. You can't play with a deck of cards or a cell phone or a lighter and smoke a cigar. No, you just fucking sit there and watch. Yeah, that's how good the writing was. Shout out. Oh my God, why did I forget his name? No, why did I forget his name? Help me. The writer.
Rob.
Yescombe. Rob Yescombe.
Yeah.
Wow. I hate when my brain breaks mid-sentence. Yes, shout out to Rob Yescombe. And also, I mean, I think the fact that he got the rights to Invisible Hours and is looking to bring it to modern VR platforms makes me think, oh man, this guy really cares about VR and he cares about the stuff that he's done. So I really, really hope he's considering trying to get the Farpoint IP from Sony.
But to answer your question more directly, while certainly we would probably have maybe a couple more Farpoint type titles, I think what the real damage that was done is we had a really strong kind of collection of initial VR indies, whether we're talking about In Dreams or Fast Travel Games or Vertigo, resolution games. Um, there's probably about a dozen or so, like Gen 1 VR studios that did great things in the first generation that should have gone on to grow. And I don't mean like monetarily grow or the studio growing with more developers. I mean the games, the product that they put out should have progressed and gotten better and better and better, much like we've seen from Vitruvius, right? From Mervils to Shadow Legend to Arcanage. This is what all of those studios should have done in the second generation of VR gaming. But that's not what happened because all of those studios saw the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow and took a major step back to support standalone VR. So I think that was kind of the biggest thing because all of the smaller studios follow the lead of those dozen or so that I mentioned, or I'm sure there were others that a lot of people thought of that I didn't mention. There's 10 or 15 studios that were just top quality, grade A studios. Skydance Interactive I didn't mention, but those studios, progressing and becoming VR masters in the second and then third generation of VR games. That's what should have happened. The entire industry of indies should have followed in their footsteps and upped their game as well. But that's not what happened. And I think that's one of, if not the biggest damage done to VR gaming by the standalone platform. And the idea of Meta forcing that technology into the spotlight 5 to 10 years too quickly.
Man, I'm reading through all the comments here. I thank everybody for contributing. This is everybody's got obviously a viewpoint, and I really wanted to bring them in more throughout the course of the conversation, but I didn't think I was going to get nearly as passionate as I did. But I am reading through them, and I hope everybody who's watching either the live or the VOD keeps the chat on while you're watching, because I think there's an infinite number of great viewpoints here that are great. Thank you, and I appreciate everyone sharing your opinion. But we do need to get back, Wes, a little bit. Oh, sorry. So in conclusion, that's all I got.
Yeah. So yeah, I think in conclusion, no one knows. No one knows if we would be better off if Meta had never acquired Oculus. But it's not black and white, right? Like there are certain things we could say would definitely be better today. I think the average quality level of games would obviously be much better today. There might not be quite as many games in the VR library today, and I don't know if that would be a good thing or a bad thing. I think there would be fewer games probably. There would be much more higher quality to the average game. But again, there are other things regarding the long-term success of VR that we would be light years behind in were it not for Meta. So again, at the end of the day, I think what Meta's doing right now is probably the right thing for the industry, and it's incredibly encouraging to see, because we've never really seen Meta do anything that is beneficial to the industry at large. Everything they've always done has been to support their brand and their vision for what they want to make VR into. Whereas now it seems like they're a lot more willing to let others take the ball and run with it. And it seems like they're, for the first time ever, going to get out of the way and let things happen organically.
And adopting a much more Sony approach. Right?
Yep.
Yep. So I think this is I think this will be a great equalizer. I think this will start. This is really going to keep people from being able to say, "Oh, Sony gave up on VR," right? Because you look at this moment and say, "Well, did Meta give up on VR?" Because the answer is no. The answer is no. It's like, but they definitely had to change their strategy, especially financially. So, yeah, I think this will help people understand where VR really is. That it's still in a very precarious situation. That it really, like, you need to support the studios that you love, because every sale counts, right? When we look at the top 10 sales charts for PSVR2, you guys have no idea what that number one position is really selling, right? That number one position could be 5,000 in sales on some months, right? 5,000 units. We're in the flat screen community, that would be just like laughed at, right? That would absolutely be laughed at. So let's make sure that we support the developers that we love, and make sure that especially if they're not getting money from Sony or Meta, it's like that's the only way to show people that you really care. You can message them all day, you can send them DMs, you can send them emails and say, "Hey, I really love what you're doing," but like buying their game, supporting them by buying DLC, telling your friends, showing your friends, right? Even that we have like 1 million content creators in this community who are also doing VR stuff. Stream those games that you love, right? Spread awareness of these games, because it's so easy for these small developers to get lost, in the mix when the big guys don't cover them.
That's something else too that we didn't consider when answering this question. I can remember the early days when we were all like just so in love with VR and wanted to tell the world and show the world. And the biggest challenge to our overall goal at that point was, how do you get everyone in a headset? Because you can't explain to people what it's like to experience something in VR. You can't show it through videos. We can try. We certainly come here week after week after week and try. But the only way for someone to truly understand is to put the headset on and experience it for themselves. And before Meta Quest, your headset was tethered to your living room or your bedroom. There was no way to take VR to people. You had to bring people to VR. And then when you consider that challenge in the COVID era, where people didn't want to take something off of your face and put it on their face, like the COVID could have killed VR dead immediately. But thanks to Meta Quest, VR is now in people's backpacks. It's in people's back seats. It's moving around, and while certainly the experience people are having in those demos are not as strong as the shark attack on PSVR1, it's still that there's still some amazing things to show on standalone VR, especially in today's age. So that's a massive benefit that we've all taken from Meta, and something that we kind of take for granted these days. But that was huge, being able to take the demo to people instead of bring people to the demo. Yeah, and again, I think we're much better off for it.
Yeah. We gotta tackle some of these tips, man. And I think we're here. I think Unreal GameCat with the $2 tip says new Backrooms VR game is worth a brine bite IMO. Does that mean it's decent? The new Backrooms game is from Game to Top Corporation, which so far has been very much just shovelware. And so I don't have high hopes. Also, I never know when it's too much inside baseball, but let's give it a shot. I don't want to put out Brian Bite after Brian Bite after Brian Bite of shovelware games being like 1 out of 3 stars, 0 out of 3 stars, right? Because when it's shovelware, it just that stuff being on the store makes our platform look bad. but then me covering it and doing dedicated videos of each one makes it look real bad. Oh, Brian did 5 Brian bites over the last 3 weeks, and they're all 0 out of 3 stars. God damn, this platform's dead, right? It's like when I should be probably spending time on good games that I still haven't reviewed yet. And so, there is an optics issue. I think we need to keep in our mind when it comes to what I'm covering. In that being said, I do want to do like a, sick of shovelware video where I cover like 20 shovelware games all in one. So you guys can get your, find out what I think of each one, but be very, very clear. Hey, we have a shovelware problem and it's all contained in this video. So stay tuned for that. That's the plan. That should be out in the next month or so.
Yeah, there's certainly a smart way to go about it. It's difficult, I imagine, as someone who does YouTube for a living, trying to navigate it, because you're absolutely right. Like there are many, many titles on the store, an increasing number, unfortunately, titles that we shouldn't be talking about at all. I mean, it's one thing when a high profile title comes out, something that people are hyped about, and we as reviewers know it's not good. We have a responsibility to sound the alarms and let people know, don't spend your money on that. But when you're talking about these small indie games that most people don't know about, and certainly people aren't going to go buy without hearing someone else say it's good, putting too much of a spotlight on those games can have a detrimental effect. But at the same time, as someone who does this for a living, for whatever reason, people love negative content, man. When you put out there like a headline that says, don't buy this garbage, everyone's going to click on it, and because they want to hear you shit on it, unfortunately. So that's a hard line to walk. But I think you're right. I think there's a way to do it. A compilation video where you just kind of riff on 20 of these games is a good idea. The way we used to do it on Virtual Strangers, is we made it into comedy, man. We would have these episodes called the best of. So we would do the best of Viveport or the best of Steam VR. And we would go and find the shittiest shovelware titles that we could find. We would pick out like 5 or 6 of them, and we would cover them as if, they're awesome, but it's obvious that we're being sarcastic and that they're really, really bad. And we would just have a laugh for an hour making fun of these shitty shovelware titles. So yeah, there's a way to do that kind of coverage and not be so damaging. And I think doing a more long form content with multiple titles is exactly the way to go about it, because then you're not, doing a headline, putting a spotlight on one title over another. Yeah.
And that way, when people enter into the video, they also know what they're in for. They're not like, oh, is this a good game? Right? Because Brian Bites aren't just bad games. It's every kind of game, just games I haven't had time to fully review. Man, you're not wrong about negative content. For all the great games we have on our platform, so many of those reviews only have 10 to 20,000 views. Meanwhile, Grand Rush VR Car Highway Traffic Racing Simulator has something like 80,000 views on the channel, right? I should probably give up on caring about PSVR2 and only publish reviews of shitty games. If I cared more about my channel than I did about the future of PSVR2, I would absolutely pivot in a heartbeat. That's where all the money's at. Just talk about shitty stuff, right? And then also put out videos every other day saying PSVR2 is dead. You know how many views that would get on Without Parole? Yep. Bro, the world would explode. People on Reddit would be like, even Without Parole thinks it's dead. I mean, dude, they lost their shit when I took PSVR2 out of the channel title because I just wanted to be Without Parole, right? They're like, oh, it's over. It's all over. I love it, man. I love it. And that's why I'm not doing a Brian Bite on the new Backrooms game, Unreal Game Cap. We got Comic Book Guy with the £5 saying, yeah, Wes, it's like moving. Oh, this is the 4D. We're all the way back to the 4DX stuff.
Right.
Sorry, I've not been keeping up on tips. I probably should have read this as we were talking about it. He says, yeah, Wes, it's moving seats and wind and all that stuff, but still 100% worth seeing a movie in 4DX. And I might and I might see Send Help in 4DX as well. Are you aware of this one? A comic book guy actually DM'd me about this one the other day. It's a new Sam Raimi film. It looks like it's a horror movie coming out like next month, very very soon. It looks good. It looks really good. I think I maybe go to the movie theater to see it. I haven't been to the theater in a while.
Interesting. No, I had no idea. I was not aware of this at all. Interesting. Sam Raimi doing horror in 2026. What does that look like? Like, are they using practical effects? I'm sure they're not. I'm sure that there's a lot of digital stuff in there. Yeah, I couldn't begin to speculate, but that's interesting to know. I was completely unaware.
Excuse me. Yeah, I have a soft spot for Drag Me to Hell. Bro, as soon as that goat talked, I was like, I'm all in. Like, it was it was just I don't know, man. I was probably really high back in the day. But I own that shit on DVD. I owned it on Blu-ray. I fucking own that shit on everything. I love Drag Me to Hell. I think it's so ridiculous. It just has this cheesy feel to it, and just somehow so riveting and so well done and so silly when it needs to be. Every so often.
Just like Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness, the same deal. They're just completely slapstick and silly, but like horrific at the same time, right?
Yeah. It makes me such a fucking hypocrite, dude, because I swear by Evil Dead 1, and then I always kind of roll my eyes a little bit at the other ones, and I know that's like we're losing subscribers by the second, right? You keep because people fucking swear by Army of Darkness, man, and I'm like, yeah, it's good. I just like Evil Dead 1 better.
I'm an Evil Dead 2 guy, but yeah, Army of Darkness is something completely different. It's almost like a comedy, right?
Yeah. Emmanuel Bose with the level 2 membership says people are all doom and gloom. This is back to the meta conversation. People are all doom and gloom over this, but this is nowhere near as bad for the industry as the ET Atari thing was in the 80s. This is interesting. This is an interesting comparison because I do think that there are similarities here, right? The industry was way smaller then. And so, you know, are we talking about the same number of people who were playing Atari and you know, burned out by all of the shovelware games that they were getting? You know, ET notoriously being kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, but not at all the root cause of the problem, right? More of like a one of the many symptoms. Nah, that's probably not what I'm trying to say, but you know what I'm trying to say. It was just, we were just flooded with so many crappy games and no way to cover them all properly, and people weren't really reviewing games, and so they just went to a store and they looked at something on the wall and they were like, "Oh, ET, cool, I'll bring that home." And they played it and they were like, "What the fuck is this?" Right? And there were hundreds and hundreds of those games. Everybody was getting in on making an Atari game back then, and so it was all garbage. But so the reasoning for these things are different, right? The collapse of video games today, or the VR industry, versus back then, the reasons are different. But I do wonder if we're dealing with a similar sample size in terms of like VR gamers versus the hardcore gamers back then. Like, how many were there when the industry collapsed in the 80s? I'd be curious to know.
Yeah, because yeah, you're right. Like, it was devastating for the industry at that time because it was a burgeoning industry. Atari is, you know, I want to say it's all that there was. Obviously, it's not true. There were other consoles at that time, but Atari was the big one, the one that everyone was playing, and the games at that time, ET chief among them, had a devastating effect on the industry, so much so that the quality of those games, or the lack of quality of those games, convinced the larger market that video games were nothing more than a gimmick. They were a gimmick, a flash in a pan whose time had come and gone. And people were so disillusioned with video games that it completely killed the industry. And the only way that we got out of that was by Nintendo marketing a video game console as something else. Basically, they tricked the market into thinking that this wasn't the same thing as an Atari. This was a completely different thing, and people gave video games another shot unwittingly, and then fell in love with them, and that's when the revolution sort of began. So it makes me wonder if we can draw parallels. And to answer your question, I don't know. I know that Atari was a big deal at that point when it failed, but how many people had one? How many people were playing? I have no clue. I would think that it's probably significantly more than are in VR today, but that's just an assumption. I don't know that to be true. But it makes me wonder, you know, we've got so many people on the outside looking at VR as a gimmick, something that's time has come and gone now, and so many people view it as a failure. It makes me wonder if our way out is going to be something similar to what happened with Nintendo, where someone repackages VR and sells it as something else when we all know what it is. Kind of like what Apple Vision Pro is. Like, they won't call that a VR headset. They call it a spatial computer. And I don't think that Apple Vision Pro is the future by any means, but I do think that when we break out in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, whenever it is, it's probably going to be on the back of a device that is more than just VR. It's going to be something that also does VR. And I'm fine with that. But it is interesting to kind of draw parallels from that original failure of video games. And there's a lot of similarities here, honestly, if you look at it. Now, another thing subsequently, like, another thought that I have when thinking about this is I wonder if physical media were still a thing, if we would all get together and throw like 10,000 copies of What the Bat in a hole in Arizona and try to bury them. And anyone can give their thoughts on that if they'd like.
That was great. Yeah, for anyone who didn't know why the Nintendo was named the NES, Nintendo Entertainment System, that's why, because they did not want to call it a console or video game machine or anything like that. Probably not educating anybody here today, though. Emmanuel Bowe sent one without Parole gift membership. Thank you so much for your generosity. We appreciate you. Oh crap, I hate when it does this. The Amiga Guru with the 50. Is this right? I don't want to skip anybody. Amiga Guru with the 50 Nokia cell phone says, am I the only one that got scared shitless playing Trenches VR? I play scary VR, including the amazing Organ Donor. That's not what it's called. Organ Quarter. I kept thinking Organ Trail. Organ Donor in Madison. My neighbors thanked me. Joe, you're not the only one, dude. When we were covering Trenches, back before it came out. Here, I think I got some footage here from playing it on PSVR2. All right, you can even see me in the headset shaking when the jump scares happen. They are so good at building tension. I love the fog. I love the draw distance because of the fog. Right, you just don't know what's around each corner. They're always keeping you on your toes. There's always things peeking out from around the corners. The thunder and the lightning is great. And then just, the jumps, just knowing that there are jump scares that are going to happen is enough to keep you on your toes. I know there's plenty of people that are like, oh, they're not deserved jump scares. Fine. Yeah, I'm not one of those people. I love jump scares, and I found Trenches very difficult to play because of it. Not a great game, but very, very scary.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. It certainly has its moments with regard to scare factor. It's just not super fun. It's very challenging. It's challenging, which I actually like. But at the end of the day, it is a maze, a convoluted maze at that, and just one. It doesn't change.
Yeah, I think I hear it's really easy to cheese it too, right? If you just keep blowing your whistle and you just keep following the noise where you're supposed to go, you can basically cheese your way to the end of it in like an hour and a half really quickly. So I should probably get back in there and finish it up, but I think I have other priorities.
But you don't want to, and
because I'm a fucking little baby. Is that why? Yeah,
because you have better things to play.
I mean, that's true. That's true. We got Game Cato with the Australian $10 saying, here, let's go to a better screen so we can see this. With Meta, Samsung, Google, etc., all vying to make smart glasses, we may have wraparound sunglasses with tech that gives VR the form factor it needs to go mainstream, perhaps. Thoughts? I do think that's probably the biggest issue that VR has at the moment. I mean, clearly most people would be like, oh, hey, does this thing have Grand Theft Auto? No. Well, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
Does this thing have the newest Call of Duty? No, not interested. Right. So that's the other big problem that it has. But I think most people don't want to wear a VR headset. And I think that's why PSVR 1 was so great, right? Because still to this day, unmatched comfort. Like you didn't feel like you were wearing something dangling in front of you on your head. You didn't have to constantly readjust all that stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, maybe I don't know. Wes, you probably know more about this augmented reality, the sunglass type tech than I do. Do you think it's possible that VR could become in a form factor similar to these devices?
Yeah, eventually. I think that's exactly what's going to happen. Will that be the thing that breaks us out, or will we break out before then? Remains to be seen. But yeah, I think something that is comfortable and relatively frictionless, and to be honest, that is mostly rendered in the cloud is the kind of end game here. It's what all of this is building toward, and I don't know when that's going to arrive. I don't know if it's going to be 10 years or 20 years, but that's definitely where this all ends up, is something that is relatively small, compact, completely comfortable, and easy to use. So yeah, and I agree. It'll be something that does VR. It's something that does AR. One device that kind of does it all.
Pietrek F with the 10 plantains. It brings us back to our meta conversation saying, don't forget the negative articles. Meta dirty marketing. Listen, I hate being such a conspiracy theorist when it comes to this stuff, but man, it did seem like there was a fucking smear campaign out there, right? When there were, just articles like, oh shoot, who was it The Verge? I remember who had that photograph of them wearing a PSVR2 headset, but being all tangled up in like 17 feet of cables and shit. And you're like, bro, that's the opposite of what PSVR2 is, right? That's what we got away from. That you show yourself doing that with PSVR1, right? But with PSVR2, go fuck yourself. Like, if you think that one plug and play super lightweight cable that's super long is an issue, then no, you're literally looking for something. And what is that one thing? It's one of the biggest defining things that differentiates PlayStation VR2 from Meta, right? And so it's like interesting that you decide to focus on that when you were, when you were writing your article, when you were saying like, how can we express this through a picture? It seemed like there was just too much of it, like kind of funny games. Like what was so passionate about saying PSVR 2 is probably never going to come out, and if it does, it's going to fail, right? But then they started covering Quest games, and it was like, well hold on, what? Follow the money. Right? I don't have any evidence to back any of this up, but it just, after you see one after another, and you're like, something's not fucking adding up here. Right? And the number of videos, PSVR 2 is dead. When it had barely come out, it had 40 games at launch. PSVR 2 has no games. You can't just keep lying and expect people to believe your lies. Actually, that's not true. I see it happen all the fucking time.
People do believe it now. I mean, I have arguments to this day with developers, like people in the space that have primarily been developing for the Quest platform, that will sit here and argue with you that there's nothing in the PlayStation VR library. Like PSVR 2 doesn't have any games, and you can hit them with hard, undeniable evidence, and they will still do these kind of dancing acts in their mind to reframe things in a way that supports their worldview in spite of the evidence. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Like this stuff works, and once once a narrative has taken hold in the public consciousness, it's hard to kind of overturn conventional wisdom. But with that said, whether or not this was an intentional misinformation campaign, uh, that was funded by Meta or anyone else, I don't know. But what I do know is that all is fair in love and war. So like I certainly don't fault Meta for it, like for doing what everyone does. This is just how business is done in today's day and age. So if they did do that, then more power to them, and Sony should have done more to combat it.
I mean, maybe. Flippy Nuggets in the chat says, "Yeah, I unsubscribed from a few channels due to the VR2 bashing." I won't read the rest of your comment, Flippy Nuggets. But dude, I see, when I'm scrolling through and I see on my recommended feed in YouTube, like somebody bashing PlayStation VR2, where there's clearly clickbait and it's just blah blah blah. Dude, the number of times I literally click the little dots or hold my TV remote button because I'm fucking so old. Yeah, dude, I'm like VR unk right here. It's like, and I hold the button down so that it brings up the little sub menu where I say, "Don't recommend channel." Right? Because I'm sorry, if that's what you want to engage in, if those are the types of conversations that you want to have, is you want to I'm sorry, are you running a channel or are you running Clickbait Central? Right? I'm not interested. Right? I'm very particular about what I want to watch. And so it's so great, I think, and especially if you want to like not damage those channels, but like I think if enough people say don't recommend channel, it pulls that shit out of the algorithm. It's not going to recommend that shit if enough people do it.
Yep.
So like, don't feed into it.
I don't do that very often, with telling YouTube not to recommend a channel or to block certain users, or I'll tell it like I'm not interested in this. I don't do that often, but I do do it. And this specifically is the type of thing that the only thing that will cause me to do that is someone blatantly lying, spreading misinformation, or constantly throwing out clickbait and misleading people with their thumbnail and their titles. Like I'm the type of person, and I'm not just talking about VR, I'm talking about everything. I'm the type of person that I like to consume content from opposing worldviews, from people that see the world differently than I do. I can take that stuff all day, even if I'm vehemently opposed to what they're saying, as long as they're approaching it from a place of honesty, and this is what they believe and why they believe it. I'll hear someone out and I'll try to consider their view. But if you're coming on here and just spewing obvious bullshit, trying to take some position because that's the position that this group is taking, or that's the position that this group is taking, and it's clearly bullshit, and it's clearly either intended to misinform someone or to take advantage of someone's emotions and get them to click on your video based on some sensational thing that you've said or put in your thumbnail. Those are the ones that I say don't recommend. Those people are dishonest. They're just trying to further some agenda or be successful by dishonest means. And in that case, yeah, don't recommend this channel. I don't want to see this shit in my feed.
Shout out to Stuart Montgomery with the £2 with the, I copied and pasted it, a pixelated hippo chomps on a 1-up. That is 100% exactly what is happening there. Hey, shout out to Chrome Colossus in the chat. Sorry to just keep topic jumping, but here we go. Chrome Colossus said, "Hey, everyone in the US, the $300 Horizon price," meaning the PSVR2 bundle with Horizon, "is back in multiple stores, including GameStop and I think even Target." So interestingly enough, this was actually going to be a story in PSVR this week, a couple days ago, because I kept seeing it pop up. It was like, I think it was like Circuit City and Best Buy. They all had the Horizon bundle for $300. Not the regular PSVR2 headset. That was $400 across the board. I was like, what the fuck is going on? There's like no announced sale, right? There's no, and so I think what we're seeing here, guys, is maybe a prelude to a permanent price drop. I think that PlayStation VR2 sold so well over the holidays, and so many people got on board with it at the $300 price point. I think Sony realized like this is where it needs to be. And so I think we're seeing a couple of retailers jump a little bit early and start discounting it a little bit early. But I really do think it's going to happen. The reason it didn't make it in the PSVR this week was because by the time I got around to actually editing the video together, all the prices had gone back to normal. And I was like, shit, so maybe it was a mistake? And then Chrome Colossus is saying, oh, the prices are back. And so I think we're going to see some fluctuations before we get a permanent price drop. That's just speculating. And what do you think, Wes? Good speculation or bad speculation?
I think we need a new bundle, is what I think.
Yes, please.
This kind of ties in. My thought process on this kind of ties into what we were just speaking about, actually, in some of these negative articles that we saw back in the day. But I don't know if you remember, but after PSVR2 had been out for some amount of time, as all companies do, once they hit a certain amount of stock, they stop production, right? So that they could sell. This is a natural. This is something that always happens. Now, at that time, obviously, industry insiders who wanted to kind of capitalize on that and use it to mislead people put out all of these articles saying, oh, look, Sony's already stopping production of PSVR2. It must be doing horribly, yada, yada, yada. Obviously, we're getting to a point now where that stock is getting lower and lower and lower. I'm wondering if these same industry insiders are going to report on those assembly lines firing back up and creating new stock now, because I do think it's time. It's time for us to, at the very least, have a new bundle. More optimistically, maybe we could see kind of a version 2 that has some small kind of improvements on it, the same way we saw with PSVR 1. It had a second version come out with some slightly different lenses, and the headphone jack was moved, and 4K pass-through was added to, or HDR pass-through was added to the breakout box. I would like to see a slightly upgraded version. At the very least, though, we need a new bundle with a new price and a new pack-in title. And given the recent success and the shelves that have become increasingly bare, I think now's the time. If they haven't already, they're going to be firing the assembly line back up. And I got to think that, the new units aren't going to just be in the same old packaging. It calls for a refresh, right?
Yep.
I think so. It just makes too much sense.
I love seeing the suggestions in the chat from people. It sounds like Synapse is a no-brainer for a bundle, and I think that's absolutely true. It's so straightforward, right? It gives you a gun to fire right off the bat, running around, climbing, all that stuff without too much climbing. And then just really showing you why our headset is different than other headsets, giving you the use of the adaptive trigger support. It is like if Synapse feels like a game that was designed to be a pack-in game, and the fact that we're still packing in Horizon is crazy. It would be nice if there were multiple bundles. It's like, oh, are you a horror fan? Well, here you go. Here's 7, 8, and 9. Or wait, hold on. What games have we gotten? 4, 8, and hopefully 9. It would be great to have a horror bundle. It would be great to have like a sim racer bundle, where maybe they bundle it with the racing rig with Gran Turismo 7, not a rig, but a wheel, right? And the pedals and stuff. How cool would that be? Do you see this? Go ahead.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Did you see that Exocars added support for force feedback?
Yeah, proper force feedback on Thrustmaster and Logitech now, right?
Yeah, I want to go back just to check that out, I think.
Here, I just wanted to see if you'd seen this. I'll send it directly to you, and then I'll bring it up on screen here. This is just, I just thought this was so funny today. Somebody spending so much money on this racing setup. I was like, bro, just
one of these dudes that have like 4 screens in front of their face.
That's exactly what we're talking about. Yeah, if
Oh
anybody.
wow, yeah, he's got the motion simulator and everything, huh?
Yeah.
These dudes get really into this stuff, man. And a lot of these motion rigs they build by hand. Like it isn't something that you can just buy a kit. But like the people that are really, really into this, like they're like super knowledgeable about all of every little component that goes into building these chairs. Um, it's really quite impressive, honestly.
It's so impressive, right? And it's like if you that's great. Like mad props to anybody who's doing this kind of stuff, right? Because the movement is crazy, right? But it's like, why did you stop?
Yeah.
You wanted it as realistic and as immersive as possible, and then you stopped with flat screens in front of you. Like, get rid of the screens and throw on a VR headset, dude. Like, how
Yep.
fucking cool would this exact same thing be, but in VR, right? He spent probably $10,000 to make this happen, minimum, and then stopped because you didn't want to buy a $600 headset.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense because obviously this guy is super obsessed with being immersed in racing games. And he's going through all of this trouble and all of this investment to build up an immersive experience. But at the end of the day here, like this guy looks down and he sees all of this bullshit that would never be in a car, right? You see your room around you, bro. Get a headset and immerse yourself for real.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
I just thought that was so funny. And plus, I created a Twitter account again just for the GameCat Ops stuff, and what I didn't realize was that people were going to be like, Brian deleted his Twitter account. This isn't the real Brian. And so I've had to try to convince a couple people, no, I'm real. But also like, you don't have to fucking follow me. I just want to make sure that I have a way to contact people when I need to on Twitter. I'm not trying to build a Twitter following.
Yeah, it's important. Twitter's important for VR industry. There's just too many people here um, that are only accessible here. You know, you go try to talk to these people on Discord or an email, they won't talk to you. But you send them a Twitter DM, they answer right back.
I've had to take a loss here and there. It's been okay. let me bring this tip window back up here so we can make sure we hit everybody up here before we start wrapping things up. And we still need to talk about Jesus, was my brain broken again? Virtual Hunter. We still need to talk about that. I keep wanting to say Hunter Simulator, but I guarantee you that's a shareware game, shovelware game. Telling you guys, you're watching my brain break in real time. Comic Book Guy with the 5 quid says, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but Disney Plus launched in the UK and on Quest, and no 3D movies is disappointing. I hope they still get added. So you can watch Disney Plus in your Quest, but there's no 3D support. That is disappointing. That is one of the things that a lot of people have been kind of bummed out about with PSVR2 is that there's no, there's a bunch of things people are not thrilled with, but not having support for 3D movies, not having some kind of big screen type support. It's all, I wouldn't expect to see that feature lacking on Quest.
This has been a big failure of the entirety of VR in the last generation. Like Gen 1 VR had a number of different types of immersive entertainment that were very promising and showed off the tech well. But again, it seems like when the Quest 2 generation came along, everyone took a step back from this sort of thing, and that includes Meta. And so disappointed. I remember being so disappointed in so many different ways because they would go through all of this trouble to support some medium or some brand or some sort of entertainment property inside the headset. And you'd get excited about it, you'd download it, you'd go to try it out, and it was just a new way to consume 2D content. People weren't putting a headset on because to go in and consume 2D content. They can do that with the screens that they have. So yeah, back then it wasn't just Disney Plus, like even like Netflix and like so the stuff that were supported in the headset in the earliest days of the headset, none of it was tailored to provide a unique 3D experience to the user. It was all just kind of an extension of a smartphone, the way that they did it. which seems to be working for Apple these days, but it's certainly not where we need to be with regard to the moving ahead in immersive entertainment. Yeah, so I don't know about this Disney Plus thing. I haven't checked it out, but it does not surprise me. It seems to be par for the course.
Guys, I just posted the link again, so you can go post a comment in the on the PlayStation blog post about Resident Evil 9. Again, we're up to 645. I forget what I just saw. It wasn't that. It was 654. 654 comments. We are on our way. Like less than 350 comments away from getting to 1,000 comments, which I guarantee you'll be some kind of record on the PlayStation blog. So go do it, man. Make your voices heard. We want to get through to Sony. Let's fucking go. Let's take a break and talk about Virtual Hunter real quick, because what, Wes? You a hunter? I didn't precede that with the words I was going to precede it with.
Yes and no. Like, I'm not, like, I don't go hunting regularly.
Yeah.
I haven't been in many years. But yes, from the standpoint that my grandfather was a hunter, my dad was a hunter, all of his brothers were hunters, and I was taught at a young age how to hunt, and we went every year. We would go deer hunting. We would take trips to go hunt deer, and closer to home we would hunt squirrel and things like that. So I'm very educated, we'll say, when it comes to hunting. It's not something that I do in my adult life. It's not something I've ever taken my children to do, but I know how to hunt. And I'm actually pretty well versed in, at least in what hunting used to be. It may be completely different now with all the technology, but with regard to what hunting always was, I'm fairly well educated.
I guess I'd be on the complete opposite end of that spectrum, Wes, because the extent of my hunting knowledge comes from stalking ex-girlfriends, and hold on. No, I played a bunch of like big buck hunter in arcades, and then when the PlayStation Move controllers came out, they had some Cabela games for it, so get to play.
I remember those.
Yeah, there was one that was really good that I loved, and that's pretty much the extent of what are you doing up there? Hold on a second, I just need to see if she's on camera. Her head is just chopped out. Can you get down a little bit? Just a little there. Thank you. Sucks for the audio listeners, but I know that the video watchers love a little tornado sighting. Sorry, the chat's just getting caught up to my girlfriend joke. I don't think I thought that one ahead. That one, I didn't get through it. I'm sorry. I'm a better person than that, I think. I love hunting games. I do. I think they're really fun. And so we just got this new trailer, which I don't think this is the new trailer, by the way, but all my everything is broken today. I think this is the old trailer. We just got a new trailer for Virtual Hunter. We got a release date. It's March 25th, and fuck all of that. Fuck all of that, Wes. I saw the trailer and I was like, oh, this is cool. You get to use a bow and arrow or crossbow or something, and you get to you get some weapons, and you get the sniper rifle and all this shit. Fuck all of that. I think this used to be listed as a 4-player game. Now it is listed as a 6-player game. I think.
What? I was expecting you to say 1 and then shit on it, but 6 players. Wow.
Yeah, quite the opposite. I think they probably recognize how important the multiplayer aspect was to this. That people are going to want to go out and like hunt with their friends, and that's half of what makes this appealing. And the fact that it's what are you doing under there? Get. Stop! Don't break it. Please don't break anything.
Get.
Yeah, please don't.
Go on now.
Don't.
Get.
Right. If I get up and walk away, will you walk away? Yo, I think she's tearing away some of the duct tape that's keeping this place together. Get out of here! Go. Anyway, so I think they probably recognize how important the multiplayer is, and now it's a 6-player game, and as far as I know, it's cross-platform. We had the publisher over on our Discord today, talking it up. I asked them to get back to us about frame rates and all that stuff, but we'll be learning more about this. very soon. But I'm excited, man. I'm excited. I can't wait. I can't wait to get into this and play it with 5 friends, and go through the ranks. You're gonna be able to like stuff and put taxidermied deer heads on your wall.
Yeah. That's great news that they've upped the multiplayer count on it. From what I can tell, while this is and kind of always has been like this, and I could be wrong. I could be confusing it with another title, but I believe this is a title that's been on PC already. Am I right about that?
I don't think so. I think it's launching across all. I'm looking it up right now on Steam just to be sure. But I think it's launching across all platforms simultaneously.
Okay, well that's cool.
Let me look.
What I've seen of this game, it does seem to be like
I was wrong.
A fairly okay.
Yeah, it came out January 15th on Steam, so it's been out a year.
Right. So it is the game I thought about. So while this game does, fit into the category of PC indie VR game, it does seem, at least from the outside, to be pretty well polished. And in terms of like the being a hunting game, it seems very detailed. Like they've done a good job of capturing a lot of different elements of the hunting experience, not just the hunting itself, but they've included the entire thing, getting out and finding your areas and scouting out the right spot. There are different ways to hunt. There are different strategies and techniques to hunting, and I'm curious now that now that they're obviously focusing so heavily on multiplayer here, if like people are going to be able to execute like team tactics, like you can hunt as a team in real life, and that wasn't the way we did it back in the day. Everyone just kind of picked their own area and would either pair up or just go it solo. But there are other tactics where people kind of all work together, so to speak. So like you'll have a team of 3 or 4 guys start on the edge of an area and start progressing. And the idea is like any game that sees these guys, and they're not trying to hide, they're trying to be seen. And the idea is that you push the game in a certain direction, and when they start running in that direction, that's where your other 2 guys are going to be waiting to ambush them. These sorts of things, and there's a ton of different strategies you can go about. And I'm just curious how well implemented those sort of things are going to be in this hunting game. But from what I've seen, this does seem to be a very well detailed and authentic hunting experience for VR. So, like you, I'm pretty stoked for it. I'm looking forward to checking it out and seeing how polished and fully featured this title actually is.
Colin says, "I'd rather hunt people than animals." I'm not against that at all. I think I think while we're taxidermying little rabbits and moose heads and putting them up on the wall. Listen, I want to play this with Awesome Tatum and then sneak up behind him and put a bullet in his skull, and then taxidermy his player character and keep that shit up on my wall for all time. Like make that shit trophy, right? It's like I think there should be friendly fire, and you can actually take people down and stuff them.
Dick Cheney VR hunting.
This is getting dark. I love it. Yeah. Flippy Nugget saying, I wonder how big the maps are. They've shown the maps, and they're touting a pretty big open world. I don't think we're going to get a real feel for how big the maps really are, though, and how many hunting sites there are throughout until you get in there. I'm glad Tatum's here to hear that. That's great. Yeah. So I don't know. I guess I still got a lot of questions. But I think from everything we've heard, I think this is cross-platform multiplayer. And the fact that it's 6 players, I mean, Usually I'm pretty thrilled when it's 4 players, so 6 players is just gonna make it that much better. I think it's gonna be a good time. But we'll keep you posted, you guys. We'll keep you posted.
You remember the premise of the movie Hostel?
I mean, I remember Hostel, but
Eli Roth.
yeah.
So the idea behind that movie is that in Europe there was kind of this secretive group of elites, like a secret society almost, but they were a hunting society and they were hunting people. And when they found the people, they were obviously torturing them and doing terrible things. But the previous comment got me thinking about the possibilities for a cool human hunting VR game. That could be fun. It would be dark. But to be honest, I think that we need more dark games in VR. I think that VR horror developers have been neutered, and that not very many of them actually go for the real scare, the really horrific shit that would frighten people and also get them talking about your game. So yeah, it's a bit of a disturbing idea for a game, but it's a game I would play if someone made it.
Grandpa's Barbecue or Game Cat with the Australian $5 tip. Me too, Wes, by the way. It says Nintendo properly entering VR now would be a win. Rising all boats, blah 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 blah. Totally agree. I don't know personally how many games on a Nintendo platform I'd want to play in VR, but just as long as I can play Mario Kart in VR. Listen, I love Galaxy Kart, right? But I think we all love Galaxy Kart in the same way, right? We all love it because it's hey, there's a bunch of maps and it's a lot of fun with friends and you laugh a lot and it's, hey, with a racing rig and one controller, so much fun, so immersive. But we also recognize that it's kind of one of our only options. We also recognize that it doesn't have like that AAA polish to it, right? And man, just I would be thrilled to get something like Mario Kart with the cast of characters and the number of carts and the number of tracks, and even the open world stuff would be so much more fun than it is just playing it handheld on Switch or even on a TV on Switch. So yes, there are definitely certain games on Nintendo that I would love to play in VR.
Metroid Prime, Legend of Zelda,
Prime for sure, absolutely. Yeah, Zelda, yeah. I mean, I would do it. I would do it, and I'd be happy that it existed. But Zelda for me, Breath of the Wild especially, was this game where I could just like watch TV and play it and just kind of casually pay attention when I needed to, because all you're doing is exploring for the most part, looking for those temples, and like oh I'm near another temple. Okay, maybe I'll pay attention and try to solve this puzzle, and then I'll get back to my movie, right? But it was sort of this really easy game to play and not pay total attention to while you're playing it, which is why I loved it. But I guess it would be totally different in VR, right? The second you jump off of a cliff, exactly. And you're standing from like such a huge height off one of those towers, and and you're floating down to the ground. Oh man, that would be pretty cool. So I guess it would be
completely different. Yeah, it doesn't have to serve the same purpose as the flat version of the game to you. This would be a different experience, and
yeah, get on that shit. Oh, sorry. Game Cato with the Australian $2 tip says flat to VR PSVR2 bundle. Huh. I mean, there are possibilities. I think RoboQuest would be an awesome packing game.
Yeah. If we haven't already started doing bundles on the PlayStation Store, I'm sure we will at some point. We're always looking for ways to create value for the people out there who haven't yet to pick up our titles.
I misread that, or we read it completely differently. I was thinking of packed in with the PSVR2, and you were like, "Oh, software bundle together on the store."
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I got you. That makes sense. Yeah. No, we're not. We won't be doing any sort of hardware bundle with Sony anytime soon. That would be great, but yeah, that's not happening today or tomorrow.
What's a game? If Sony was to do another Call of the Mountain, right, and take an IP that I'm not sure how many people want this. Maybe there's plenty of people who want this. So I'm not going to sit here and say that no one does, because I think a lot of people want unique games for VR, that the hybrid model isn't exactly what they're looking for, even if it's exactly what I'm looking for. What's another Call of the Mountain style game where Sony could take an IP that's really big for them, give them a built from a ground up VR game for it, and then pack it in with the bundle? What's the best game they could do?
I mean, in the situation that you have laid out here, it would probably be God of War. A lot of people still talk about wanting that God of War VR game that was teased all those years ago. For me, built from the ground up isn't what I would want. Right. If I had to pick another Sony franchise that I wanted a VR title from, it would be The Last of Us. And they're not going to do, I mean, that game is so narrative driven, and focuses on, a relatively small group of characters. I don't think that they would ever consider writing a unique narrative that would only be told in VR. So in order to get a proper Last of Us VR game, it would either have to be a conversion of one of the original 2 titles, or the third one would need to be developed as a hybrid. But that's what I want. I want The Last of Us. Now, the other game that I've been, begging for years is Infamous. I'd love a new Infamous game in VR. It's so perfect, almost as perfect as BioShock. But that The Last of Us and Infamous are the games that I've been kind of begging for since I got into VR, pretty much.
Infamous is a crazy one, because if you play those games, especially with today's mindset, you see how shallow they are, right? Like, you never go into the buildings, and it's like you're just kind of running to different points on a map, and you're just killing just a ridiculous number of enemies as you run from point A to point B. It's like they're fairly shallow. And I don't think you have to reinvent the wheel if you're going to bring that into VR, because it's like suddenly that traversal from running from point A to point B, you're not just holding up an analog stick and tapping the X button occasionally, right? Now you are literally in first person, like skating across those power lines and shooting people while you're skating across it, and getting those powers where you hover, put out your hands. I can only imagine how pulling those triggers and using the adaptive triggers, like to give it some force behind, what I'm saying, difficult to pull the triggers when you're like lifting yourself up off the ground, and just how great some of those haptics can be, and the headset haptics. Oh my god. So
eye tracking, think about how Synapse used eye tracking, and then think about the possibilities for Infamous.
Yeah Dude. I mean, that'd be the perfect way to reinvent that game without actually having to reinvent very much. Be great. Yeah, I was gonna go with Uncharted, but Jesus, all these suggestions are so much better than
Uncharted is great. Yeah, that's another great one. Another one that would be very well suited. There's a franchise that you absolutely could do a standalone VR game built from the ground up, and it would be amazing. But with that said, we got to keep in mind what makes an Uncharted great is the fact that it's this gigantic, big budget experience. That game is awesome because of the production that it is. It's the production is half of the experience with that. So it's a bit far-fetched to think that anybody would ever invest that much in a VR game. But if they did, it would be awesome, obviously.
I've definitely seen some pleas for Spider-Man in the chat. And like, honestly, come on, Sony, let's pick up the pieces of Camouflage. Let's put them back together again. And let's give them yet another fantastic IP. They did okay with Iron Man. They did amazing with Batman. Let's get them working on Spider-Man.
Well, for what it's worth, 2 things. First of all, let's just do Wolverine. Second of all, okay. It makes more sense for VR. Wolverine makes more sense for VR. Yeah. Secondly, we don't need Camouflage to do this. Insomniac are very, very experienced in VR development. So let's just have them do it. whether it be Spider-Man or Wolverine.
Yeah, I feel like all we're doing is talking about everyday occurrences in 2036, right?
Right.
I feel like in 10 years, I feel like these are conversations that'll happen all the time, and they won't be, oh man, that would be such a dream come true. I think it's going to be like, oh, did you hear that they're making Wolverine 3? Oh yeah, it's also going to have a playable in VR. Wonderful. I think this is just they're going to be commonplace conversations. We're just not quite there yet.
Did you play it? Did you check it out? That'll be the conversation.
Right. We also got comic book. Oh my god, dude, this tip window's going to crash. Comic book guy with the £5 says, let's not forget about the Meta and Lightstrom partnership. And devs did reply to a review over a month ago, but they said 3D movies are coming in 2026. Oh, I am not familiar with Lightstrom. None of this is all brand. Is any of this ringing a bell for you, Wes? Are you familiar with this?
No, I'm not. But this is kind of the other side of the coin from what we talked about earlier when I was talking about the grand failure of the Quest 2 generation to progress with regard to immersive entertainment. The other side of that coin is that over the course of the last 6 months or so, there's been a lot of positive movement in that space, and we're starting to see Meta specifically build an ecosystem around this type of immersive 3D entertainment. And a lot of the stuff that 3 years ago was showing up in 2D format is now actually showing up in 3D inside the headset finally. So I don't know specifically anything about this project, but it doesn't surprise me. It fits with other things that I've been hearing.
My apologies. It's Lightstorm. It's James Cameron's studio, and they have a multi-year partnership for 3D entertainment. I'm reading this from Deadline.com. All the articles I can find on this all come from December of 2024. So I guess we should be seeing the fruits of this at some point soon, right? We should be seeing some kind of announcements at least, if not the actual final product.
I think this is something that was teased at MetaConnect, not this year or not this past year, but maybe the one before.
Yeah. Interesting. Hopefully all of that is still well and good, right? Because I think this is probably right around the same time that they were like, hey, why don't you guys make a Harry Potter game over at Skydance? So hopefully the contract is still valid. Ben L of the GameCat Army with the level 3 membership, excuse me, says, I know it won't happen for a lot of reasons, but I'd love to get the Nintendo version of Star Wars The Force Unleashed 1 and 2 in VR. Third person is fine, but those controls were amazing. The Force Unleashed, oh my god. There's been so many Star Wars products over the years that I think they all mesh together into one. So I got to Google this real quick.
Yeah, that's my problem. There are a number of these older Star Wars titles that are now playable in VR thanks to modding, both on PC and on standalone Quest, actually. And for the most part, these mods are 6 degrees of freedom, full-on VR mods with motion controls. So I don't think the Force Unleashed specifically were the titles that were modded in, but there's like 4 or 5 of them, I want to say, from that kind of era that are now fully playable in VR if anyone cares to go through the trouble of installing them and modding them.
I was actually Googling Star Wars The Force Unleashed, and as I was typing it, a flood of memories came back to me from the PS3 era of just this being such a grandiose Star Wars game, and being pretty highly regarded. I don't remember how the second one did, but I just completely forgot about that series. Interesting. Wes, you got anything to talk about for a couple minutes while I look up for a 4-minute challenge game? Get anything in your mind?
No, but no. We can talk to the chat here while you figure out what we're doing.
Excellent.
Gaming Entertainment Television says Force Unleashed was very action and throwing boxes around, kind of like Synapse. But there you go.
Nice.
I think that's a good comparison, and it just goes to show. I want to say it goes to show what a Star Wars game could be like in VR. But we have a number of Star Wars games in VR already. Like we've got the the one they brought over from Quest, whose name I don't remember. What was the name of the damn Star Wars game?
Oh, Tales from the Galaxy's Edge.
Tales from the Galaxy's Edge, which was cool in many ways, but lacking in some of the ways like what you're describing here. It was a cool game. And honestly, I think one of the biggest missed opportunities of the newer generation was that they didn't bring over last generation's Star Wars game. What was the dogfighting game called?
Oh, sorry. But Squadrons.
Squadrons. Star Wars Squadrons is such a great game, and it tears my heart out to see it on sale for $2 frequently, which means no one is playing it. That game, as it was when it launched all those years ago, still holds up today. Like the production values are off the charts. The game is fun to play. It's I don't understand why it didn't get brought along for the ride. But I guess by the time PSVR2 came along, it was already a bargain bin title. So I guess they didn't see many dollars to be made is probably the answer to that question. But yeah, the moral of the story is we have some pretty solid Star Wars VR games as it is. But yeah, there's always room for more.
Flippy Nugget says Squadrons is hybrid, right? That's right. That's the way forward. Hack the Game Cat said Squadrons was so fun and looked great on PSVR, on PS5, right? Because it used dynamic resolution, right? And so you played on the PS4 and it looked all right, and then you played on the PS4 Pro and you're like, oh, this looks so much better. And then you play on the PS5 and you're like, God damn, am I living in the future? And the answer is yes, you are. All right, I picked a game.
Cool.
I'm scared that I might have picked one that's too hard, Wes, because this is I think we're on a winning streak. If Looper's around, I think we're up to 8 or something. I really hope we didn't fuck that up, and I hope we don't fuck it up today. So everybody in the chat, I've picked out a PSVR 1 or PSVR 2 game. You guys out there and Wes have an infinite number of yes or no questions to ask, but only 4 minutes to ask them in. So you got to figure out what game I'm thinking of. So suggest good questions that Wes should be asking, and then suggest games that it might be. I hope I remember enough about this game in order to. That's already a hint. We're heading in the right direction.
This scares me. It scares me
a little bit too. I feel like I should watch like a review or something of it before we play the game. But I'm going to roll the dice, Wes. I'm going to roll the dice. Here we go. I'm going to put 4 minutes up on the clock the way that Jeremy likes it. I'm going to give everybody in the chat a second to start asking questions. Everybody in there asking good questions. Let's go. Yes, gaming entertainment television. Yes, dynamic resolution. Bro, listen, if you haven't experienced dynamic resolution on PS4, PS4 Pro, and PS5 and PS5 Pro, here's what you need to know. It scales the resolution based on the hardware it's running on. And so if you played Dreams on PS4 or PS4 Pro, and then you fucking played Dreams on PlayStation 5 with your PSVR 1 headset, it's like night and day. Dreams Creations are some of the best looking VR games you'll ever fucking see in your life. They are so beyond what most VR games look like right now. It's craziness. It's craziness. All right, here we go. On your mark. Get Des. Go.
Is this game on PSVR 2?
No. I wish it was.
Is it on other VR platforms?
Yes.
Steam?
Yes, but I'll double check.
And Quest?
Yes, but I'll double check.
So as of right now, it's a multi-platform Gen 1 VR game. Is it based on a known IP?
No.
Is it good?
Yes, I think so. It depends.
It is good.
It's definitely good. Maybe not great.
It's marginally good. All right.
Yeah, I checked. It's on everything. It's on Quest. It's on Steam. We're good to go.
Multi-platform VR game, not based on an IP, marginally good. First person,
Yes.
full locomotion.
Yes.
Is there combat?
No.
It's a puzzle game.
No.
Walking sim.
Walking sim. No.
Is it? So there's no combat. It's not a puzzle game. Is it a rhythm game?
No.
Is it like are there vehicles?
No.
So there's no vehicles. Okay, so we got to nail down the genre. Is it a horror game?
No.
Sci-fi?
No.
Fantasy?
No.
Jeez, man. So it's not a rhythm game. It's not any of those things we said. What the fuck could it possibly? It's not no vehicles, so it's not a racing game. Let's see here.
I'm suddenly feeling really bad for picking this.
Yeah, Deracine, well, I said no vehicles. Is it a racing game?
No.
So it can't be Sprint Vector. Is it a sports game in general?
I wouldn't say like an actual sport, no, but there may be sports themes like sprinkled about.
So this is a multi-platform title too. It can't be Sprint Vector. Is it? Did I already ask you? Is this multiplayer?
It's not on PSVR. It's not.
On PSVR.
Yeah, we got a single player version. I think it's multiplayer elsewhere. Infinite Loops asked if it's real world, and Looper asked if it's a collection of mini games. I just want to say pretty much yes for both of those. I think that'll help you get in the right direction.
Okay. Is one of those games shit. Dread Halls is one of those games. Dread Halls.
No.
Not the Hero Cade. And it can't be Worlds because it's on multiple platforms.
Right.
Yeah.
Unlike Worlds or Dread Halls or whatever Hero Cade, you're always in the same place. You never leave the same place to play different games.
Okay. Is it does it take place in a park?
No. But you're getting close. Very closely related to a park.
Okay, in a carnival?
Very closely related to a carnival. I'll give you one more question. You got one more question and a guess. We're so close.
Shit. What was the other one? There were carnival games. There was Summer Funland, but then there was another one.
Mm-hmm. That had multiplayer on other platforms, but not us.
Yes.
It even got sequels on other platforms, but not us.
Okay. Is this game Pierhead Arcade?
Oh my God, you fucking got it. It's coming out January 29, 2018 on PSVR. It is, in fact, Pierhead Arcade. Oh my God. It's so funny. I thought
for what it's worth, you answered questions that I never asked.
I don't care.
you gave us the W on this, but well, way to keep the streak alive, right?
You got to remember, I'm on your side, right? I want you to win, and so that's fine, man. Like if I have to push a little hard, this was a hard one, man, because like you spent about almost 2 minutes trying to nail down the genre, and it's like, I don't know if you're going to get there if you stay on that that line of questioning. It's a tough one. But it's funny that you actually mentioned Summer Funland first, because I picked Summer Funland first before at the last minute changing my mind and thinking Pierhead was actually an easier choice somehow.
Summer Funland is the one I've played more than any of these other titles. Like I actually like Summer Funland, and I wish that it was like a full on multiplayer amusement park experience. Like there's a concept there that's unrealized that I think would be great for VR. if someone were to do it right. But I enjoyed Summer Funland for what was actually there.
Yeah, Looper says first time it's ever been picked. Four Aces Gamercat said there's shooting in this game. Yes, there is. I was waiting for a question like, right, but like there's no combat, right? And so it's like I didn't want to steer you down the wrong path and be like, if you said are there guns in here, I'd be like, yes. But yeah, it's definitely there's not combat. I think you'd be looking at a first person shooter or something. I'm always trying to steer you in the right direction.
That would have been worse if I had asked if there was shooting in the game. It would have completely thrown me on a different tangent. So yeah, it was a good thing I didn't ask that question.
I'm bummed we didn't get this on PSVR2. I'm bummed we didn't get the sequel. I'd love if these guys would ever consider putting a collection, Purehead Arcade 1 and 2 collection together or something for PSVR2. I think it would do well. Especially if they made it sort of like a social hub type thing, right? We're kind of clamoring for those types of games. To have it be single player only on PSVR 1 sucked, but the games were fun. And so if it was a place you could get together with 12 of your friends and play, I think it would breathe new life into this completely.
Absolutely. And these games were typically, if I recall, they had fair pricing on them. So like they didn't cost an arm and a leg. So like if they were to do a compilation for like 15 or $20, I think people would buy it.
I think so too. All right, we're gonna wrap shit up here. I'm trying to do like 3 things at once, but thank you everybody for hanging out. This was a really fun episode. I hope everyone enjoyed the meta conversation. Hopefully we tackled it from a fair perspective. I think we did. And we really appreciate everyone's contributions to it. Thank you everybody who supports the channel, keeping the channel alive. We appreciate you keeping the lights on. Unbelievable. Thank you. So Patreon supporters, YouTube members, people who tip during the show, all very, very appreciated. But we're just happy that you're here. So keep coming back and come join us over on Discord. And even if you sit back and watch the show and don't say a goddamn word, we know you're out there and we love you just as much. However, you should be speaking up these days because we need your voice for those, for the Game Cat Ops, big time, now more than ever.
We don't need your voice. We need your typing letters into the screen.
Yeah, just copy and paste someone else's comment. Like we're literally asking you to do almost nothing. Anyway, happy Wednesday, Wes.
Happy Wednesday, Brian. Happy Wednesday, cats. Enjoy the rest of your very cold and snowy week.
Ooh, yeah. Let's go. Before we do the what's it called? Okay. This was the thing on this day on in Without Parole History, or this week in Without Parole History. This week, Waleed had asked on Monday's show. This is the membership or tip I missed. He said it was about the Five Nights at Freddy's movie making $250 million at the box office, saying how much of a healthy franchise that it is. I just want to say that I think that's excellent news, and I really, really hope that we get some news soon on the Secret of the Mimic port, because so many people are saying Secret of the Mimic is like the best Five Nights at Freddy's game yet, and I think they should really be capitalizing on the new movie by getting that out on PSVR2 as soon as possible.
Agree wholeheartedly. We're seeing firsthand what a strong IP can do. As you know, from the onset, this game was very simple, targeted for younger players, and it made a lasting impact on those younger players who are now growing up. And the games are changing. The newer games are not what the older games were. They're much better now, and these once squeakers are now active members of the market. So it's kind of a metaphor, if you will, or a smaller scale version of what we're hoping happens to VR in general. But again, just goes to show what a strong IP can do. And I agree. I've never been the biggest fan of these games, but Secret Amendment looks pretty cool, and I'm kind of looking forward to trying that one out. So hopefully we get some news on this one sooner rather than later.
Agreed. All right, we're gonna play a little Footloose and Fancy Free here. We're gonna go all the way back to 2022. This is January 10th, so we're close. It's a week or two.
Q1.
Q1, right? Still January. But yeah, holy shit! It's going to take a little while for 2022 to start sounding like 4 years ago instead of 3 years ago. But here it is. The headline reads: Hybrids, platformers, and more in defense of third-person VR games. I feel like this is a discussion that is still happening to this very day, Wes. Here's a picture here in the chat in case it's not going fast enough.
It is. It is. This debate is still ongoing, but I feel like we've won some people over. I think people, at least some people, have come to realize over the last few years that there is no hard rule that applies 100% of the time. While certainly first-person games are better suited for VR, that doesn't mean that there can't be amazing third-party or third-person games as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when the Suicide Guy VR talked about his new third-person platformer game, May Child of Ages or whatever it's called, even though it was by a studio that we don't fully trust, like the amount of support with him saying, "Hey, I might bring this to PSVR2, or I'm planning to bring this to PSVR2," was overwhelming, right? So there is a very strong desire for these games to get ported over, like even if it's kind of like a no frills, right? Like, oh, I don't have two hands in first person Moss style while I'm helping this third person character, or Along Together, which did something similar, right? There's so many ways to add first person support to a VR game. We're not always asking for that, right? Like, it could just be a straight up fucking third person platformer that we also get to play in VR. And I think now that we've convinced enough gamers of that, now we need to start convincing some studios of that, right? Be like, hey,
For
we're
sure.
literally asking for the most basic of effort here, right? We don't want you to add VR mechanics. We just want you to give us the option to play it in VR. So that's going to be part of our task this year.
I'll tell you what, man, that Sackboy game that came out when PS5 came out, that game is awesome in VR. You can play a 4-player co-op, and just straight up, with no changes to the controls or anything, just being in that world in full 360 3D adds so much to the experience. So there are literally dozens and dozens of games that would benefit greatly from being playable in VR.
Oh yeah, I love when we get back into like discussions that I love having as we're trying to end the show. It's like these thumbnails. Right. We bring up like this topics that could be literally the topic of a brand new show. Anyway, that's it. Thank you, everybody. We love you all. Have a great night. Meow.